Welcome to Honest Whispers Review. On this video I'll be reviewing Mobile Suit Gundam Seed Destiny ZGMF-1001/M Blaze Zaku Phantom 101 scale. Released by Bandai back in 2005. Don't know who the designer or sculptor on these plastic model kits are. They usually don't credit, and they're always in Japanese, so if they do, definitely missed it. Now, this is a plastic model kit, so you do have to assemble it. And it doesn't come detailed. It comes with colored plastic, but then the detailing or any painting you have to do yourself. Sometimes it does come with decals. So basically I'm going to go ahead and review this. Gonna go with design as the first category. Unlike statues, rather than just the pose and the concept, because there are articulation, I'm gonna base it on the design, the look, of course, the way it looks from, basically the TV show. And as you can see, there are some shots from the TV show, the way the thing looks, the Blaze Zaku looks like. And definitely very accurate. And of course the articulation. Now, to go over a lot of the stuff, not only is there a lot of articulation, everything from the ankles, knees, of course, the legs, which are ball joints, and then you have the waist that twists, slightly bends, the neck, arms, elbow, and the wrist, and even the fingers or the hands are articulated. So basically you could open them up and you have to close it down like that to keep the hand from holding the weapons. And of course there's articulation on the shield itself, the shoulder armor. It's basically has its own articulation. And then on the back here, his backpack has several articulations. Right here it rotates, and of course this wing kind of goes slightly up and down, and then these open up here for the boosters. So I have one open, and of course the back and front armors, these well, maybe not the back, others do, but this one only the front, and of course the side. So not only that, when you look at the actual design of the robot and what they added for these plastic model kits, I mean, it's very realistic for what it is. I know it's a fictional machine that doesn't exist in real life, but when I say realistic, I mean you'll see there's a lot of thought and very clever engineering. Believe it or not, you're gonna think engineering when you actually build one of these, because it is very well made. Just the way things articulate and move, and just the features it comes with. Right here on these, on the side right here of his, on the side armor, his hip armor, it comes with 4 hand grenades. Of course it comes with 2 weapons as well. And right here under the shield, better believe it or not, you could actually detach those. You could detach those, and what they are actual extra magazine clips for his machine gun. So I thought that's very well cleverly designed. His spikes don't come out or anything like that. But as you can see, his backpack is also a weapon. So what I did was I basically opened the, I guess these are like missiles. It's like a missile canopy, and basically the boosters I opened up in the back, so it does have a lot of details, rotations. Once again, in the back you got like different middle boosters, the main back boosters, and this backpack does detach. So, and he looks cool without it as well. And believe it or not, these right here on the bottom, they have some articulation, so they can kind of, you can make it kind of, I don't know, just pose it any way you want basically, so that you could have all the boosters in one direction, make it look like he's floating. There is a stance I believe you can get for this. Usually they, you know, basically there's a bottom piece that you would kind of detach. I don't know for sure if this one has it, but either way, they put a lot of thought and design to this. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this a 10 out of 10 on the look and design, articulation. And get that. Now keep in mind that the joints, they're kind of like the soft plastic, almost has a rubber feel to it, but it's not. I guess it could be a combination of some type of rubber and plastic mixed into it. Either way, I guess that's how they would probably make soft plastic in the first place. But sometimes it comes out very loose, I guess. Like, I mean, it fits, but then sometimes it can get a bit loose, or it feels loose, so it may not hold up its position, especially sometimes depending on the design of the robot. Now this was close to, like, the shield that's on his shoulder, there's a lot of weight to it, even though it's made out of plastic, so it can kind of, like, I don't know, weigh his shoulder down. So like you can't really, like this one I got, I don't know if it's luck, but this one just turned out better than most. So for instance, when I try to have a position where the shoulder is up like that, well, of course it stays for me right now, but sometimes just slightly it might lower. Now that's probably because the shield is like this. So if I change it, then basically you have more weight. You have more weight kind of pulling it down on that side. So yeah, this one, that's the reason why I'm giving it a 10. This one doesn't really have much of that problem. I know that the heavy arms, even if it's brand new, you just built it, because it's holding really big guns on each arms, that usually would end up, for instance, his arm, if you try to keep it completely straight out, it'll kind of, by gravity, it'll kind of lower itself. So next category is the sculpting and molding. And for these plastic model kits, I mean, as I mentioned on the design, the engineering and the design is really well thought out. So it is very accurate as far as the way it looks on the anime, and for what a robot I guess could do, at least with this much armor. I mean, it's really well thought out. Now they do come in like these sheets. Well, I don't know if you call them sheets, but they're basically like panels. So you have to detach them and basically cut out any of the little tabs, plastic tabs that it may have. For instance, right here in the front, you can see little bumps. So basically, that's where the plastic was attached to, that this piece was attached to. For instance, even on the ends of each hand grenade. So if you just twist it off, you might leave like a pretty big piece. I'm very I guess detailed on doing that. So like basically what I do is I use a scissor. I'll cut it. Sometimes if I have to, I'll twist it off. I usually don't like twisting it off because it kind of you could discolor the plastic, or you could end up twisting part of the actual piece you're trying to take off. So I usually like to cut them off, and then from there what I do is I'll open the scissor up and then I'll try to shave it off. So that way I'll get a flat, smooth surface. Now even though it looks like there's a bump, if you touch it and feel it, like the surface will feel smooth, at least the way I did mine. So all plastic model kits are gonna be like that. It's a matter of how well you do it, but basically the sculpt itself and the way it detaches, it's pretty much perfect. There isn't a piece where, it is kind of rare, but there isn't a piece where you might break the piece while ripping it off. So the way the I guess those little tabs kind of thin out, it has a perfect I guess indentation, I guess just next to the piece, so that it cuts out very nicely, even if you don't use a scissor to cut it out. So for the sculpting, I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 10 out of 10. The next category is painting, and painting basically, I didn't really mention it, but as you can see here in the diagram, it comes in a solid plastic color. So the white piece would be a solid white plastic, and then the red pieces would come in a solid red piece. Now this is a hybrid piece, so it came with kind of a red and like pink mixed to it, but you could see that they attached. And for instance, on this corner, that's the glowing piece, and that is from the beam tomahawk. So basically, if you don't detail, it does look kind of plain. And as you can see, mine, I did a lot of detailing, and I get OCD when I do this. So every piece, every limb, whatever it may be, I have to have it symmetrical. So if one leg's line is darker, like I would erase it and redo it. So everything is very symmetrical and evened out lines, even in the back there. So I try to make as clean lines as possible. So if I do too much ink, once again, I would erase it and redo the line. So I've seen a lot of, compared mine with professionals, and I've seen a lot of professionals get sloppy too. So at least for me, and this Zaku, believe it or not, is one of the more easier model kits to detail. And the reasoning is because you have less lines, and a lot of these small lines are nicely indented, so that usually in one try, like you could get these all down, most of these down in one try, and you just kind of do what you can. You guess you could pick and choose what you want to do as well, but I didn't want to overdo it, and also at the same time I wanted to be more accurate to the anime. And as you can see here, I did look at these sample pictures as reference, and even on the box, but this is something I decided to keep. So and the box was slightly damaged and I was running out of room, so I decided to move him into a different Zaku's box. So if I never displayed this yet, so once I mean, usually I'll have it stored in a box anyway, so that's why all the joints are stiff and everything. It's not like I play with it or anything, although if a kid played with it, probably would have a lot of fun with it, although wouldn't last too long because these can be fragile. So for the painting, there are some decals on this, even though you don't necessarily have to paint anything. This one came with little white strips, so these fit perfectly. And of course, me being a bit OCD when I do this, I needed to make sure the lines were perfect. Now on the top here, on the missile covers, first and foremost, I wanted to make these symmetrical, so I didn't want it kind of more to the left or right. I did best as humanly possible to get it perfectly straight, but the problem here is that the sticker, if you look at it, is slightly wider than the actual width of that little edge right there. So no matter what, I ended up with the sticker slightly over the edge right there. Because if you look at the bottom, there's a lot of white left, but then not much gray left. So for me to get it completely perfect, I would have probably had to have shave it, like cut it myself, but that would have been way too risky. So I figured, you know what, I'll just do the best I can. And overall, it's still not bad, but it could have been better. I mean, if they really did give us perfectly fitting pieces, would have been perfect. Now the one on the right actually fit a bit better, so it all depends on the sticker, the way it's cut. I think maybe it was slightly off, but of course on the left side of the result is a bit of the same. So due to that, I'm gonna give the painting score a 9 out of 10. As far as the value, now if this came out in 2005, but they do tend to kind of remake these, and they'll just repackage it, a new box with new art, but it's basically the same mold, so they just kind of like reproduce it using the cast or whatever that they have saved for these model kits. So the value doesn't really go up high on these. Now this one, I haven't seen it reproduced yet, but then you can still find and buy a lot of these that came out in 2005. So the supply definitely is up there. Demand isn't too bad, especially on the Zaku, basically because I don't know, I think the design compared to other Zakus and, similar type of mobile suits, this is kind of up there. There's a lot of cool factors, especially with the missile. That's a unique design for this Zaku only, and these shields on the shoulder as well. The guns for the Zaku, that's pretty common, but it is a trademark Zaku gun, which you can also have it posed with him holding both the handles. And of course, those grenades come out, as I mentioned before, and those extra magazines come out. So, because of the detailing, and it does take a lot of time and hour just to assemble these, and if someone who built one and knows about building Gundam, I think they'll realize, I guess, the quality and the time that was put into this, because I know someone who owns a Gundam store, and he has a lot of professionally made mobile suits that's on this glass display, and believe it or not, this definitely kind of compares up there. I've done many mobile suit like model kits before. Some I didn't do as good, some I did really good. This is definitely up there on the ones that I did really good on, because there's a lot of details you probably can't see just because it's kind of covered by the armor. But believe it or not, it's, I mean, like I said, pretty much every nook and cranny. Even the side right there, and I always tried to make the lines perfectly straight. I didn't want any paint or ink to kind of run like, not just wiggle or get crooked, but I also wanted to make sure the thickness of the lines were symmetrical. So I don't want one line right here like to be really dark and thick, and then this line to be really thin. So I always made sure that everything's symmetrical. So for the painting, I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 9 out of, for the value, I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 7 out of 10, because the reasoning for me is that I think I could, if I choose to sell it later down the line, I think I could probably sell it. I'll probably list it at about 100, because I've seen professional ones that's just as good as this, listed for like 150, 135, 125. So I would probably start there, and then I really wouldn't let this go anything less than probably like 75, maybe 70-ish dollars. Because for me, it's like, I'd rather, the time and the hours I spent on this, I'd rather keep it than try to, double my money, which this was around like $30, $35. Or I think it was, this one was actually around 40, 35 to 40 when I bought it in around the 2005, 2006 when it came out. So overall, accounting for everything, I mean, this, like I said, this is one of my favorite Zakus. I would put this up there. Like I said, this is definitely something I would hold on to for a while, and then wouldn't let it go for, I guess, don't want to sell at price at the time being. So overall, I would give this a 9 out of 10. So to recap, design, 10 out of 10. Sculpting, 10 out of 10. Painting, 9 out of 10. value 7 out of 10, and overall 9 out of 10. Thank you for watching. Until next time, remember there's a thin line between a hardcore collector and a hoarder.